I waited for the flaying of my mind, my body coiled tight as a spring, but the assault never arrived. Instead, a melody washed over me. It started as a low thrum, vibrating through the floor of the cell and traveling up my spine, distinct from the metallic coldness of the prison. It was a sound that bypassed my ears and resonated directly with my nervous system. It was soft, like the brush of velvet against skin, then it swelled into a symphony of impossible beauty. It was singing. Slowly, terrifyingly, I uncurled my body. I lowered my hands from my ears. The sound was sweet, honey and ambrosia, the scent of rain on hot asphalt, the feeling of a first kiss. It was not just auditory, it was sensory. It tasted like nostalgia. It felt like being held. I dragged myself to the glass wall, pressing my cheek against it. Below, the chaotic mass of the monster had smoothed. The frantic, jagged edges of its form had softened into rhythmic undulations, glowing with a bioluminescent blue that matched the thrumming in my veins. Tears streamed down my face, but they were not tears of pain anymore. They were tears of relief, of a sudden, piercing joy that I had not felt in years. The dullness of my office job, the loneliness of my apartment, it all washed away under the tide of this song. It felt familiar. It felt like a key turning in a lock I did not know I had. Come to me, the melody seemed to whisper, though there were no words. I am here, you are here. I stared down into the abyss, and for a terrifying second I felt a pull, not gravity, but magnetism. Amidst the swirling chaos of the entity, 2 points of light coalesced eyes. They were vast, burning with the intensity of a supernova, and they were looking up. They were looking at me. A shiver that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with recognition raced down my spine. My breath hitched. In that glance, the universe narrowed down to the glass of my cage and the burning gaze in the dark. Then the music stopped. The silence that followed was colder than before. It was the silence of a guillotine blade hanging suspended. A mechanical grinding noise echoed from the left side of the chamber. My eyes snapped away from the abyss to the wall of cages across from me. A section of the grid, perhaps 50 cells, suddenly shuddered. The glass walls of those cells retracted into the ceiling with a unified hiss. No, I breathed, the fog of bliss evaporating instantly. I saw the people inside those cells. Some were still dazed from the song, smiling beatifically at the empty air. Others were waking up to the horror, scrambling backward. The back walls of their cells lurched forward. It was a hydraulic push, slow and inexorable. No, no, I slammed my fist against my own glass, screaming a warning they could not hear. The prisoners were pushed to the ledge. One by one, gravity claimed them. They tumbled out into the void, limbs flailing, screams swallowed by the distance. Below, the creature abandoned its calm geometry. The beautiful blue light turned a violent, bruised crimson. The mass surged upward like a waiting mouth. I watched, paralyzed with horror, as the falling bodies met the mist. There was no impact, only absorption. The creature did not chew, it unraveled them. I saw flashes of biology, an arm, a torso, disintegrating into light and shadow as they were pulled into the roiling center of the entity. The creature fed, and as it did, the screaming returned. The shockwave hit me again, buckling my knees. I crawled to the corner of my cell, sobbing, trying to reconcile the heavenly song with this visceral butchery. This thing was a god and a devil in the same breath. It gave ecstasy, and it took life. The cycle repeated, hours blurred, scream, pain, song, bliss, feeding, horror. I lost track of how many batches fell. I stopped watching the slaughter, curling up and covering my head, only uncurling when the singing began. It became a drug. I found myself craving the song, needing it to survive the intervals of pain. And every time the song returned, it was faster, sweeter, more focused. I noticed something else too. The screaming became shorter. The singing lasted longer. It was learning. It was discarding the discord. It was searching for the harmony. I was lying on the floor, exhausted, basking in the glow of the latest hymn, when the song cut out abruptly. I braced myself for the metallic screech of the distant cages, for the sound of others dying. But the sound came from my ceiling. A click and a hiss. The air in my cell changed. The temperature dropped. The barrier, the glass wall that separated me from the drop, slid upward and vanished into the wall. I scrambled backward, pressing my spine against the rear gray wall. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Not me, I whispered, my voice trembling. Please, not yet. The back wall hummed. It began to move.
Want to keep the flame ignited without having to wait for the next part? You can find the full, tantalizing tale on our main page. See the link in the description.